Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. This is our first committee of the whole meeting for 2021. So welcome to staff and council and anybody watching tonight or in the future. I have an introduction to read, so if you are watching this tomorrow, then just fast forward through this bit. Before we start, I will remind council that this portion of the meeting is being recorded and live streamed to YouTube. I will also remind council to speak clearly and project their voice when they're talking to people viewing at home, so people viewing at home can hear. I will now do a roll call of council for the benefit of the public watching this meeting. When I call your name, please wave at the camera, say here or present. I, Councillor Merlihan, am present and chairing this meeting. Mayor Shantz.
Here.
Councillor Martin.
Present.
Councillor McMillan.
Present.
Councillor Redicott.
Present.
And Councillor Shantz.
Present.
Okay, everybody accounted for. I need a resolution to reconvene an open session. Councillor Shantz and Mayor Shantz. All those in favor? And that's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest tonight? Not seeing any. There are a couple of items to come from closed session, so I'm going to go to our clerk, Val Hummel, to read those recommendations.
Thank you, Chair Merlihan. The first recommendation to come forward to council from closed session is that the Council of the Township of Woolwich, considering report DS-03 of 2021, direct Township staff to appeal the decision of the Committee of Adjustment on the minor variance application A25 of 2020 for Mar Home Farms Limited to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, also known as LPAT, and that council grant authorization to the Director of Development Services Signing Authority to sign the LPAT application to appeal the decision from the Committee of Adjustment for application A25 of 2020 for Mar Home Farms Limited on behalf of the Township.
Okay, thank you, Val. The next item, we have a public.
A mover and second.
Oh, sorry. Yes, we need a mover. Anyway, Councillor Martin and Councillor McMillan as the seconder. All those in favor? And that's carried. Our next portion of the committee of the whole will be a planning public meeting.
Sorry, Councillor.
One more.
One more closed session.
Oh boy, I thought you did them both at once. I'm sorry.
No.
Back to Val.
Can we,
Do I have to leave for this? Or?
yeah, so Councillor Martin has already declared pecuniary interest, so if you can just zip up the door. So the second one is that the Council of the Township of Woolwich authorize the mayor and clerk by bylaw to execute agreements of purchase and sale as copied to report DS-04 of 2021 for the sale of a portion of Ceiling Park on Arthur Street North in Elmira, and that the township solicitor be authorized to finalize the agreements subject to any minor non-substantive changes as may be required by legal counsel.
Okay, thank you. Now we will get to our public planning meeting.
No, now you'll move it second.
Oh. Okay, here we go. It's been a while, a little rusty.
That's okay.
Who would like to move that recommendation? Okay, Councillor Redicott, and seconded by Mayor Shantz. All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. Now can we do the public plan? Okay, I've just been itching to get to that. We'll just wait for Councillor Martin to get back to his seat. And again, if you're watching at home, this is a good part that you could fast forward. So this meeting constitutes the formal public meeting required under Section 34 of the Planning Act. The meeting is for information purposes only, and no decisions will be made at this time. The application will be brought forward at a future meeting of the Committee of the Whole when staff has had the opportunity to review all submissions and prepare recommendations. All those attending will be given an opportunity to speak and are asked to submit a written outline of their oral submission to the clerk. Please contact planning staff at the township to receive further notifications about this application. Zoning. If a person or public body would otherwise have an ability to appeal the decision of the Township of Woolwich to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, but the person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Woolwich prior to approval, refusal of a proposal, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Woolwich prior to approval or refusal of the proposal, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the local planning appeal tribunal, unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. I declare the planning public meeting to be open. Our planning decision now is DS-05-2021 zone change application for Noah Martin, 1356 Tillman Road. And I will ask our manager of planning, Jeremy Mink, to introduce that report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is, as you mentioned, zone change 11-2020 for Noah Martin. It's a property at 1356 Tillman Road, which is the corner of Whittick and Tillman Roads. So just north of Elmira. The proposal is to amend the zoning from agricultural to agricultural site-specific provisions to permit on agricultural equipment sales and service business on 0.9 hectares of the property. As you can note, as noted, the building is already existing, so the applicant is proposing to legalize the use that's existing on the property. It is the corner portion of the site on the corner right on Whittick and Tillman Roads, in that very corner of that site, and the building he has there. The applicant runs a farm equipment sales and service operation where they sell farm equipment such as farm forage wagons, hay wagons, blowers, and harvesters, and repair those similar pieces of equipment. The building is a two-story structure. So on the second floor has office, lunchroom, and storage, and the main floor is the main operations. If council has any questions, I'll be willing to answer them, but the applicant is here to go through their proposal in more detail.
Okay, Council, do you have any questions at the moment, Councilor Martin?
Yeah, thank you. Jeremy, this is the same property where there was significant fire 2 years ago? Or is
Not to my knowledge, no.
this
Thanks.
I think the property was down the road, further down on Tillman Road.
okay, I was just wondering, looking at the map.
Okay, Council, any other questions before we hear from a planner? Councilor Shantz.
Thank you, through you to Mr. Vink. So is this an existing and they're just bringing it up to standards and legalizing it, or is this something new?
So yes, it is an existing operation, and it is one of the ones we've been dealing with in the agricultural area. This will legalize the business. So right now it is not operating permissions.
Thank you.
Okay, if there aren't any more questions from Council, we are going to ask Megan Garrity from the GSP Group to present on behalf of her client. Megan, you have the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. I believe there's a presentation that someone will be putting up for me. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you. So good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Chair, members of council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Megan Garrity. I'm a senior planner with GSP Group. I'm here to speak with you this evening on behalf of the applicant, Noah Martin. He's the owner of 1356 Tillman Road and of AM Custom Sales and Service. Noah is also called into the meeting and will be available for questions after the presentation as well, if there are any. So I'd like to take this opportunity to provide you with a bit more background on the site and to take you through our proposed amendment. Next slide, please. So as you know, the site is in the agricultural area north of Elmira, located at the corner of Tillman Road and Whittick Road. The site is surrounded by other agricultural uses and is approximately 13 hectares in size. The custom sales and service business is existing and was established in 2016. So this zoning amendment would legalize that use. The business currently takes up roughly 0.79 hectares or 1.95 acres of the site at the southeast corner, right close up to both of those frontages. Next slide, please. This just shows a more close-up view of the site. So it's focusing only on the portion of the site with the business that we would be asking to rezone. And as you can see, it's close up to Whittick Road and Tillman Road. So the existing building is shown here in white and is approximately 700 square meters in size. As Jeremy had mentioned, there is a second story mezzanine, which is roughly 300 meters squared. And so the main floor of the building is used for the industrial use as well as some storage. And then the mezzanine portion is for a lunchroom and some additional storage. And that space out the front is predominantly office space. So there are some locations on here highlighted in green, and those are kind of the existing grassed areas. This differs slightly from our original submission. It's just updated to more accurately show the outline of the existing grass areas. We marked the approximate location of the septic bed also along Tillman Road. And there are some existing fences that run along both frontages of the site. The red areas on the plan are approximate locations typically used for the display of equipment to be sold. And the blue areas are shown where equipment and other materials are currently stored. So not necessarily for sale, but storage for future repair. There's some overlap between the two areas as this tends to change depending on what they have on site and what point in time it is. Noah's explained to me that they would typically have more stored on site over the winter months, allowing them time to fix things as they're able to get to them throughout the winter and getting things ready for clients for the spring. The small purple area shown beside the building is an existing water storage tank and some other storage materials, which the tank collects rainwater runoff from the building and is typically full, but is used on occasion to rinse off machines before they're being repaired or painted as necessary. The yellow area located on near the back of the site is a wood burning heater and some stockpile of wood for that heater for the heating of the building. There's also some parking spaces shown kind of closer to Tillman Road. Those aren't formal parking spaces right now, but we wanted to demonstrate how the required number of parking spaces could be accommodated on the site. We also showed a potential fire route, and these details would need to be solidified through the site plan process. There's 3 driveways currently accessing the whole property. There's one that goes to the main at the house and the barn, which is a little bit to the left of what you see on the screen here. There's a path along the north edge of this site that leads out to Whittick Road that provides access to their farmland on the other side of Whittick Road for farm machines, as well as obviously the entrance along Tillman that leads directly to this site. The path out to Whittick Road, just to provide some more context, was established before the applicant bought the property, and this has basically served as a kind of boundary for the sales and service use so far. Next slide, please. So we believe this use would be considered an agricultural related use, which may be permitted when the following criteria can be met. And this criteria comes from the provincial guidelines for the assessment of this type of use in the agricultural area. So I'll just run through these criteria briefly. So the first is to ensure that it's either a farm-related commercial or farm-related industrial use. And we believe that this is a farm-related commercial use, as it is selling and servicing farm equipment meant for use in the agricultural area. Farm equipment repair is specifically listed as an example under the provincial guidelines as a farm-related commercial use. The second criteria states that it shall be compatible and shall not hinder surrounding agricultural operations. The existing commercial equipment sales and service business was established on site in 2016, as I mentioned earlier. Based on the owner's knowledge, there haven't been any issues with the existing use to date, and we don't anticipate any issues from the continuing use of this site for this business, should the zoning amendment be approved. The third criteria relates to farm operations in the area and ensuring that it is actually directly related to other farm operations. So the equipment being sold and serviced through this operation are agricultural machines used for farming, predominantly hay wagons and blowers, as Jeremy had mentioned. I have an image on a subsequent slide that I'll bring to your attention later. And the business is related to farm operations as it helps facilitate ongoing farming, primarily in the local area. And the fourth criteria is that it should support agriculture. So having this use in this location supports agriculture as it provides options for agricultural services directly within the agricultural area where the services are needed. While not all the equipment being serviced comes directly from this area of Woolwich, having the option for these services in proximity to existing farms provides an option for equipment repair and sales to those in the area, and helps to make that agricultural cluster a little bit more complete with these additional services. The fifth criteria is to provide direct products and or services to farm operations as a primary activity. And we believe that the primary activity of the agricultural equipment sales and service business does just that. And the last criteria here is benefit from being close in proximity to farm operations. So the equipment being serviced predominantly includes agricultural wagons, as I mentioned, that can sometimes be towed to the site if they need to be fixed, and blowers, which are smaller machines that are easier to transport, are also brought to site, and some other equipment as needed. This location allows for effective and efficient operations due to access to roads suited to slow moving farm vehicles, and reduces transportation distances for farms in the area that use this operational service. Also, having the operation in the agricultural area allows the applicant to operate the business while also continuing to farm their land. Next slide, please. So just some context on the designation. The site is located in a prime agricultural area as established in the regional official plan. Township official plan designates it as rural. Farm-related non-residential uses are permitted in this designation, so long as they comply to a certain list of criteria. There are no environmental features on the site that would be impacted. And there are no issues to date with the location of the business on this site, as I mentioned earlier. Through this application, we hope to update the zoning to permit the proposed use. And although some prime agricultural area has been taken up to establish this use, the business is providing a service to the agricultural community and is allowing the Martin family to run this agricultural related business while also running their farm. And the location of the building was situated in an area where the owner believed that there would be the least amount of impact on their land, given that the path out to Whittick Road had already been established, setting a sort of boundary for the extent of that business. Also, the building is located within the existing farm building cluster, which is encouraged in the provincial guidelines as it can help to reduce impacts on existing crop areas. Next slide, please. So the site is currently zoned agricultural, which permits farming, and I believe that all of the buildings that are currently on the site meet the regulations in terms of setback. We've provided a demonstration that the parking can be met, the parking requirement can be met. The proposed zoning would be site specific to permit the existing agricultural equipment sales and service business on site as an agricultural related use. And this would include outdoor storage as well as the existing paint booth, which is inside the building. And it would be limited to the area as shown on one of the previous slides. So just the 0.79 hectare portion of the site. Next slide, please. So to conclude, I just wanted to note that the applicant is aware that the change of use, that a change of use building permit would be required, as well as site plan approval to formalize the layout of the existing site, should the zoning be approved. And ultimately, the proposed amendment would allow the applicant to continue operating their business on the site, providing agricultural sales and service to the surrounding agricultural community. So that's all I have. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you this evening. Noah and I are available should you have any questions.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Council, are there any questions for Ms. Garrity? Any questions for Mr. Vink or Township staff? No? Okay. Would anybody like to say anything else before we conclude then? No? Okay. Okay, so if there is nothing further from speakers, I declare the public meeting to be closed. Okay, thank you. Next, we don't have any presentations. There are no delegations. Any unfinished business that council wants to talk about? No. We do have no consent items. We have no items for approval. We do have items for information. There's some Elmira BIA and St. Jacobs BIA minutes, as well as Committee of Adjustment minutes. Into staff reports now.
Yeah.
Oh, we need a motion for all that?
To receive for information,
Okay.
items 921 through 5.
Okay, I'll take a motion for all that. Councillor McMillan and Councillor Martin. All those in favor? And that's carried. On to staff reports. I'm just trying to get this meeting moved along, so I'm just missed some of the important things to do.
Real important here.
So our first one is more for just information, unless council has any questions about the council meeting schedule and the new televised dates for Rogers. If there's no questions, we'll just move on to the next item. 10.2 is Joseph's Place condominium. Oh boy, I can't even talk. The condo application. How about that? We'll ask Mr. Vink to present that report. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. So this is, so the Region of Waterloo is the approval authority for condominiums. So the recommendation is to forward on our comments to the region formally, so they would incorporate those into the condominium approval. So the site has been, as you are aware, is a 4-story, 78-unit apartment building. It's been developed. They've already taken occupancy. People are moving in. The last bit of their process is REITs usually then moves forward to condominiumizing the site so that for financing purposes. So there are still remaining rental units. They're not selling them off, but this is for their financing purposes. Site has entered into a site plan agreement, so most of the things that we normally would look for are already addressed in site plan. So basically, it's just forwarding on our basic comments to the region to incorporate within their condominium approval. And that's in the recommendation before you.
Okay, Council. Mayor Shantz, you have a question?
I do, thank you, through you to Mr. Vink. I was a little bit confused with the notion of renting and condominium. Are they going to just condominiumize part of the building and have the rest available for rental, or what is the plan there? It seemed to be a contradiction.
So yeah, typically when you think of condominiums, people think of each unit is owned and sold, but you can do condominiums. They're going to condominium each unit, as well as parking and storage spaces, so that people can rent them, but they're not selling them. So in this case, it's for rental purposes still only. It just helps them with financing with the banks. So it's just a financing mechanism for them. So it doesn't mean they're going to sell them. They could in the future, supposedly, but they're proposing to keep renting, and that's just a different way of doing it.
So they're going to make all the units condominiums, which are set up for individual ownership. And then they're going to rent them out and probably sell them.
So through you, Mr. Chair, to the Mayor. So they, at this point, have made no intention of selling them. Their business model doesn't sell them at the moment. Doesn't mean they couldn't. Okay, their business model is they have rental properties. So for financing purposes, this is the better solution for them to condominiumize the site. So.
Okay, thank you. I think when we originally talked about this site, we were hoping to get some rental on it, so I hope that they continue with that.
Council, do you have any other questions? Mr. Bank? Mayor Shantz, did you want any more follow-up on that? You're good?
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, so there's a recommendation here in the report. Does anybody want to move that? Councillor Shantz, and if you want to second it, Councillor McMillan. Any other questions before we vote? Okay, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, our next staff report is a cross-border service amending agreement for 75 Benjamin Road in St. Jacobs. If Mr. Vink, if you can take lead on that report again, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to council. So this is kind of a thing we'd like to get rid of, as you can notice that we would like to hopefully have it delegated down in the future. So our intent is in the future, if possible, future delegation bylaw would come forward and we would be able to deal with this at staff level. These cross-border agreements in Waterloo, there's a few properties there that have an old historical agreement where there was elements tied to costing and things that had to be developed. All those works have been long done, so that the need to clarify and be careful of who's transferring and taking over ownership, which is why we have these agreements. They have it in the agreement that they have to go through the council approval of the city and the township, are no longer really useful. So our hope is that A, we can delegate it down to staff because there's no real issues left, and B, hopefully in the next few years, once the stockyard secondary plan is done and we've renegotiated cross-border agreements with the city, we will eliminate this whole issue entirely. But for now, it is just sort of just acknowledging that they're transferring ownership from one property to one owner to another owner. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Vink? No? Is anybody prepared to move the recommendation? Councillor McMillan and Mayor Shantz. Last opportunity for questions. Okay, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Mr. Vink. Next staff report is the draft water and wastewater budget, and we're going to ask Mr. Petherick to introduce that report. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So tonight, just presenting the 2021 draft water and wastewater budgets. So just looking first at the water budget and really similar comments on the wastewater budget, the region has passed both their water and wastewater budgets with a 0% increase, which means they're keeping their user rate the same as they did in 2020. And with both the water and wastewater charges from the region taking up the bulk of the budgets, staff is also recommending that we keep both the water and wastewater rates at the township at the same level as 2020 and have a 0% increase. So that's really all I want to say on this, and be happy to take any questions council may have.
Okay, I can't anybody being too angry about that. Council, any questions? Councillor McMillan.
Thank you, Chair Merlihan, through you. I just wonder, is part of this 0% increase kind of an artificial effort to not pass too many costs on to constituents during COVID? And might we see a larger increase next year than we otherwise would have after suppressing that increase this year?
So through you, Mr. Chairman, I don't anticipate that. The reason why is if you look at the history of our rate increases compared to the region's rate increases, we typically either A, fall in line with that rate increase, or typically we are actually under that. So I think, as the report indicates, the region is going to be increasing both their water and wastewater rates. So I would anticipate from a staff level, we will be at or below those increases next year.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't clear. That I meant on the region's part. I realized that we were passing along that, but I was asking you to pull out your silver ball and tell us what the region was going to do next year.
So through you, Mr. Chairman, Typically, the region usually holds what they say they're going to do, at least for the following year. I mean, obviously, the year after that, things could change depending on how things go. But I would say that they're going to remain what they've said is going to be going forward in 2022.
Okay, Mayor Shantz, would you have any insight into region water rates?
No, but I think what Mr. Petherick said is accurate.
Okay, perfect. Does anybody want to move the recommendation as is? Councillor Martin and Councillor Redekop. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Mr. Petherick. Staff report 10.5, Water Ontario Regulation Financial Plan. Mr. Poupé can introduce that report.
Thank you through you, Chairman Merlehan, to Mayor Shantz and members of council. Before you, we have the water financial plan. It's a regulated requirement of all municipalities and is necessary in order for us to renew our water licensing. We do this every 5 years, and it's important as the owner, being council, that they endorse the financial plan, and it's a minimum 6-year cycle. So that's what's contained in this report. I believe the last one we brought to council was in 2015. Outside of that, I really have nothing further to add other than you will note the tight timeframes, and one of the reasons for the special council meeting tonight. Again, we are down to the wire as far as getting this done.
Okay, thank you. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Poupé? No? Anybody want to move the recommendation? Councillor Shantz, and seconded by Councillor McMillan. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. Our last staff report for the evening is a request for proposal for design services for renovation of the Maryhill Fire Station. If Annie MacArthur could speak to that staff report, thanks.
Great, thank you through you, Chairman Merlehan, to council. So just before you, as noted, is the design services for renovation of the Maryhill Fire Station. This has been on the capital forecast, so we're now at the point that we have released an RFP, and we're recommending that we award that to Douglas Valley Inc. At the cost noted in the report. I could highlight that staff had proposed in the capital budget during deliberations to increase the cost for the renovation, or the expected or anticipated cost to be $850. So we've sought out the services of qualified consultants. We've received 6. There was an evaluation committee that was reviewed all of the submissions, and that included the manager of accounting, the deputy fire chief, and the manager of operations for our department. We're quite happy with the submission that is being recommended to be awarded based on the extensive experience of this firm, specifically with renovations of municipal fire stations throughout the province. So as you'll note in the report, we're expecting that this will commence construction and design work and permit, etc. shortly, with the proposed completion date of January 2022. However, staff will monitor that and come back and report to council if there are any changes. I don't think I have anything else to add to based on the report and the recommendation before you, but be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, great. I know some of us are pretty excited to see this on the agenda tonight and move forward with Maryhill. I think it's been a topic since some of us have been started on council, so it's good to see that. Council, any questions? Councillor Shantz.
Yes, thank you. Through you to Ms. MacArthur. Just a couple of questions. Is this construction going to be done during the winter months? And either way, what are we doing with the trucks in the meantime?
Through you, Chairman Merlehan, to Councillor Shantz. So I think we'll have a better idea once we award the contract and meet with the recommended firm, and then we'll be able to get a strong timeline and report back. And I think that in discussions with the fire department, they're looking to relocate their services to Breslau in the interim while construction takes place. So I think we can get back to you on a firm, construction date when we have that.
And there's enough room at that fire hall to put the trucks inside in the cold weather?
I believe that Fire Chief Martin has said that if there isn't enough room, that they have got some ideas of other locations to store their equipment in the interim.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Nobody. I guess somebody want to move the recommendation then? Mayor Shantz and Councillor Martin? Councillor Martin, did you have any questions or comments for this, or?
I was a little confused when we're looking for a proposal because I thought that we already had a design in place when different contractors looked at the building as what we could do with it and had some suggestions. So is this a necessary step, or am I missing something?
Yeah, so through you, Councillor Merlehan, to the rest of Council. So we did have some design, and basically that work was done with a local contractor based on consultation with those at the Maryhill Fire Station. However, at this point, now we've gone out for actual design and engineer services. So this firm will now, they have made some modifications and some recommendations on the design, and then they'll oversee the entire process from start to finish on our behalf.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion on the table. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Does any council member have any other business to bring up? Councillor Martin?
Yeah, thank you. A question for Jared, if he's still with us. Is Jared still with us? Yes, there he is. We've enjoyed pretty good weather the last couple of weeks. Temperature-wise, and very little snow. So my question is, why has the region not been in downtown to remove the snow from the sidewalks? It's difficult parking down there and stepping over snow all the time. I noticed last week in Toronto, they've had lots of snow, and their snow is all gone. In fact, they had street sweepers out last week. I'm not suggesting that we'll do that, but I think the snow, they've had lots of time to remove it. Or is that unreasonable?
No, I guess we can we can ask. I don't have an answer through you, Chairman Merlehan and Councillor Martin. So we can certainly reach out to our counterparts at the region and see if there's opportunity for them to lift snow, or what the rationale was why they had decided not to lift snow. I don't know that we've lifted snow though either, Councillor Martin. So I'm not sure that we have yet.
No, just to follow up, I don't think we have, but you know, if you want people to come downtown, it'd be really more inviting if it'd be easy to walk around without all the snow around. And I'm just suggesting that, you know, the trucks haven't been out salting and plowing a lot. They certainly would have time. They've got a night shift. I'm not sure why it wouldn't have been cleaned up.
Yeah, we can through you, Chairman Merlehan, to Councillor Martin. We can certainly inquire about what that process is for the region, how they view the downtown, and how they approach that. I know that, you know, obviously the township, and as you're aware, that is responsible for sidewalks. So I'm not sure if that falls to us for access, or if that falls to business owners to open up some of those entranceways off of the on-street parking. But certainly we can look into that further and provide a response.
Councillor Shantz.
Just a note, they were in St. Jacobs last week clearing the snow out of there. I saw them.
Okay, no, that's good to know. Thank you. And it may be that you're getting around to it, but we'll certainly follow up.
Okay, great. Any other council members with any other business they want to bring forward? I'm wondering if at this time, just for the people watching, the last 2 weeks, council's been meeting twice a week dealing with the budget. And I'm wondering if Mr. Petherick could maybe just give us a real fast update synopsis on where we're at with that budget, and then when the final budget's going to come to council for a vote.
Sure. Through you, Mr. Chairman. So in even one of the items that I can update council with, you know, based on our discussions last Thursday, so with the inclusion of the GIS position, at least for part of 2021, and with 50% of what's going to be included in the 2021 budget being part of the building sections budget, That actually has a benefit to us because of the indirect cost calculation. So the greater expenses you attributed to that cost area, it actually means more of the building permit revenue we can retain within our own, I guess, general budget. So with that, we're sitting at I believe it's a 1.92% levy increase. So included in that is a 0.5%, which will be a special COVID relief fund. And council will have opportunities if people come forward, community members, or an initiative comes forward to help with COVID relief. Council can decide what to do with it at that time. And if those funds, whatever funds will be remaining at the end of the year, council will decide whether they would like to direct that into reserve or reserve fund of their choice, and we can decide that later on. So from that perspective, we're going to be bringing the final full, including tonight's water and wastewater budgets, back to council on February the 9th. That's the committee of the whole, and then the following week we'll be looking for ratification from that, and then we should be done that process for at least for 2021.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot there.
No problem.
Okay, so if there are no other business from council, the outstanding activity list, I'm just wondering if anybody wants to take a look at that, because I think it's been about a year since I've looked at it, and I went through it this past week, and I'm wondering if some of those things could come off, or if there's updates. Did anybody have any thoughts on that? I know we haven't talked about it for a while, any of those issues on there. I wish I would have taken a note on as to which ones that I guess we better not take Snyder's flats off. Might jinx that process. Library, taxation, I guess the climate emergency. The last update there was from 2018. Let's see. Okay. If nobody has anything, maybe we should review it at some point in the next little while. We have some correspondence. There's a City of Kitchener, Town of Kingsville, fuel resolution, bunch of stuff, gravel watch, Ministry of the Environment. Is there anything council wants to pull out and talk about? Not seeing anything. Are there any public notices? No public notices. Okay, so the last thing here, a notice of closed meeting. There is not a notice of closed meeting, but there is a special council meeting scheduled after this meeting that I'll give to Mayor Shant. She'll be chairing that meeting shortly after this. Notice of motion, and do we have to do notice of motion?
No, you don't.
Okay, adjournment then. A motion to adjourn this meeting. Councillor Martin and Councillor Shantz, all those in favor? Okay, that's carried. So stay tight. I'm gonna just let Mayor Shantz take over from. You're good right there, right? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. A motion that council convenes into committee of the whole, moved by Councillor McMillan and Merlihan. All those in favor? Carried. Motion that the summary of recommendations of the committee of the whole be adopted, and that would just be the one from today, then?
Yes.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Reddicock, seconded by Councillor Shantz. All those in favor? It's carried. The motion that the following bylaws be introduced and read a first and second time. A bylaw to provide for the appointment of municipal law enforcement officer for the Township of Woolwich. And a bylaw to confirm all actions and proceedings of the council of January 19th. Moved by Councillor McMillan, seconded by Councillor Reddicock. All those in favor? That's carried. Motion that committee of the whole rise and report to council. Moved by Councillor Shantz and Martin. All those in favor? Carried. Motion that council confirms and adopts proceedings of committee of the whole. Moved by Councillor Redekop and Ryan. All those in favor? It's carried. And a motion that the following bylaws in the hands of the clerk be read a third time and finally passed, and that they be numbered as bylaws number 01 to 02. There's no year on those. Should there be?
It'll be 01-2020 to 02-2020.
21.
21, yes, thank you.
And that they be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the corporate seal. All those in favor? Councillor Ryan and Sean. Sorry, that was moved by Councillor Ryan and Councillor Sean. So all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Anything else in here?
No.
We're good. A motion that the meeting adjourn to meet again in regular session on Tuesday, January 26th, 2021, a week from tonight. Councillor Shantz, second Councillor Redekop, all those in favor? And that's carried. Good night, everyone. And just hang on the line here until we get the live stream turned off. There we go. Hold on.
Not bad, not bad. Just under an hour. Oh, sorry.